Okay, hopefully I could do this. It's a big game, I'm always pushing, so... Hey there folks, rinimt here, and welcome back to the Game of Fortune. In the last part, unfortunate things happened. Apparently we chose the route where we're gonna be killing poor Devin, so... yeah, but we're alive! Good. Anyway, we found Richard. He is here. His dad's dead. And we're arguing about the dead. Sure they do. No, they don't. I guess no one really told you about how this whole game thing works, huh? Wasn't that obvious when we first met? I've never been to one of these dumb fortune games before. I don't understand how you're taking everything so calmly when people are dying. Richard just stared at me like a teacher who was disciplined their students' lack of understanding. As if what he was saying was so obvious, so fundamental, that he just was awestruck as to how I didn't know of it already. I understand now. That's why you're so distraught right now. You had to kill 3 people. He spoke those words like he was just talking to a friend over coffee. Like I didn't just go through the most agonizing experience of my life. Sorry, I was jumping the gun there. You didn't necessarily kill them. It could have just been some kind of race or another 4-player game where any number of you could have died. That it was a 1 versus 3 game and you were on the side and came out victorious. On the one side and came out victorious. I guess it's one of those options, right? What does it matter to you what happened? I don't want to think about it anymore. Your eyes, they're full of sorrow and guilt and shame. My guess is that you had, some part, caused the death of your friend Devin, right? I felt my throat getting hot, my hands balling up into fists. I was sick of hearing this creep talk. I didn't need to get psychoanalyzed right here and now. Just shut up, man. I don't want to talk about it. I felt my eyes watering up again. I tried to hide my face by rubbing my sleeves against my face. That was an awkward sentence. You weren't there. You don't know what the hell we went through. I didn't want to kill anyone. I didn't want to hurt anyone. And in the end, she... How the hell am I supposed to pick between my own life and my best friend's? Richard reached out and put a hand on my shoulder, slowly pulling my arm down. He gave me an uneasy, yet sympathetic smile. It's good that you feel pain and regret about it. That means that you're still human, that you aren't some horrible monster. I was worried that you could just go through killing someone and not feel a thing, but... seem to genuinely be suffering. I can't say I understand exactly what it'd be like to kill my best friend. Even leaving my father behind left that gnawing pain that still lingers in my heart. I'm sitting makes you stronger than that, then you're carrying a heavy burden. It's no wonder that you're more distraught than anyone thinking that you'll never see your friend again. How is this guy so perceptive? It's like he's looking through my eyes and right into my very soul and reading my emotions piece by piece. Probably hasn't even been less than an hour. Your heart is still probably heavy with guilt. I don't know what it was about his words, but it felt as though he was opening doors and taking down barriers that were keeping all my sadness locked up. A stream of tears began to roll down my eyes, and breathing quivered as it slowly developed into choking sobs. I tried to muffle my crying under my arms. I tried my best to keep everything trapped inside even now. Richard left a few moments to grab some napkins and return so that I could clean my face off with them. I don't know how long I cried for, but after I slowed down, he got me a glass of water. I didn't necessarily feel good, but I did feel better. At least enough that I didn't feel a constant pressure in my chest anymore. Calm down enough yet? I think so. Thanks. By the way, I generally think that you'd say those kinds of things. You come across as a bit of a creeper. I get that a lot, but I'm not a therapist or a psychologist, I'm just a painter. If I can't capture the mood or emotion of a painting, then I'd be pretty bad at my job. To me, I guess emotions are just drawn on faces so I can make sense of them for a lot of people. Sounds like a superpower. I'm pretty sure it's just empathy or some other innate thing in humans. I'm just a bit more aware of it, I guess. More importantly, I need to tell you that your friend Devin isn't really dead. At least she's not going to be permanently dead. Just, can you explain to me how you know that? My dad told me that's how this game works. That's probably why he was so comfortable dying. Essentially, death doesn't quite work here in the same way. I mean, it is temporary, like taking a nap, and that everyone eventually wakes back up. I'm gonna need something more concrete than your dad's word. Well, I've seen it happen. Does that count? You've seen it happen? You see people come back to life after death? Well, no, I haven't seen them, but 4 years ago I saw people enter the same glowing gate that we did. I also saw them come back out, so they couldn't be dead. Wait, have you been here before? Here? In this place? Not exactly. My dad and I did come to see this sort of ceremony or ritual thing happen. We wanted to participate in the fortune game 4 years ago, but they were already full. So we decided that we'd just stay and watch. Honestly, it was about the same thing that we went through. A big speech, people were lined up, then they went through the gate, and they came back. Yeah, at 4:44 p.m. on the same day. The lights did the same thing that they did in the morning, making that blue gate, and then everyone walked right back out. So they all really did come back normal. They weren't like husks or clones or anything like that. I mean, they were the same people, but they were also different. You could see in their eyes something changed. Maybe they were shocked by what they saw, or they were satisfied by whatever they did in there. Guess if I came back after thinking I killed my best friend, I'd be pretty different too. Exactly, so that's really all to say that things are probably going to be okay. I guess I feel a little better if this is really all true. It's true what he's saying, by the way. Grant walked over towards us and handed me a sandwich on a plate. I asked him to make you something. Hope you don't mind. No, I appreciate it. I'm a little curious how you know he's telling the truth. He looked away somewhat and shook his head. I just know. Can I leave it at that for now? I suppose I'm just telling you so that you don't end up losing your mind thinking you've killed someone you can't bring back. There's a very stark difference between that and what's going on here. You sound as though you're personally familiar with what goes on here. I'd rather not talk about it. There's no good memories in this place. That's a shame. I was hoping that I'd get to learn more about these things. Heck, I wanted to ask Zeph and Kishi, but... Why Zeph and Kishi? Zeph and Kishi played in the fortune game 4 years ago, and so I was going to ask them about it when I got the chance, but... Seems that they're gone, which, you know, is kind of impressive. You beat veterans at the game. I can't imagine that's an easy feat. I don't exactly feel proud about it, but sure. Really? They both played the game 4 years ago. That, or they have extremely convincing body doubles or twins. That's strange. Why do you say that? I suppose I'm just wondering why they'd come here again. Personally, I think that only a fool or a madman would try and enter into this place after going in once. So they must have some good reason for coming here again. I suppose that depends on what they get out of the game itself, right? These wishes? I think that most people would probably risk a ton if it meant they could get a wish granted. Yes, that is if they were normal wishes, but these aren't normal wishes. Not quite, but there's not really any reason to speak much more on the subject. They're gone. I doubt I'll get the chance to ask them about this topic this time around. I guess you're right about that. Hey, are you people done being glum already? You've got absolutely no ability to read the room. Look, I get that, but we went through some real terrible shit, but we should be living in the moment. We're alive, and we gotta make the most of it. Now, who wants a drink? I'll pass. None for me. And no, thank you. All the others that come by are going to be willing to have a drink. Well, you won't have to wait much longer. The champs have arrived. I looked towards the voice and saw that William, Elizabeth, Lilith, and Alora had just entered the room. They all looked tired and beaten, aside from William, who seemed to be as energetic as ever. Pass me a cup. I'm feeling high on life right now. Are you even old enough to drink? Of course I am. I'm 21 years old. That is a lie. He is 20 years old. Why does it even matter? This place isn't a bar. You want a drink? Go make it yourself. I'm not getting into trouble handing alcohol over to someone under the legal limits. Ugh, whatever. I'll make myself something. I see that you all have made it past the first round. Congratulations. No congrats are necessary. It doesn't really feel like much of a victory. Make small victories when you can. If you end up sullen and drowning in sorrow, you'll be frozen in place. I do have to admit I'm a little disappointed that Philip wasn't able to make it to the next round. Don't be. He made his choice and was content with it. I don't doubt it. He's always the stubborn kind that always wanted to do things his own way. Did something happen to Philip? Where's Zeph, Kishi, and Devin? My father was executed upon failing to finish the game we were in. Executed? It didn't look painful, at least. Just got blasted through the head. It doesn't sound painless at all. Well, he's dead now, so it doesn't appear to be in any pain. And what about you, Clyde? Everyone that was in your group is dead aside from you. Gee, I didn't notice. I didn't ask for lip, I asked for an answer. What, it wasn't obvious enough? They're all dead. A stupid game had me play against Devin, Zeph, and Kishi, and we had to take turns inflicting pain on one another. I had to kill them to win, they had to kill me to win, and you see the results? So are you happy? You had to kill them. I see, I'm sorry you had to go through that. It's regrettable, but people were going to pass on one way or another. Best to accept that fact now that you've lived it. I'm trying. I didn't come here today exactly preparing to kill my best friend. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. Is there anything we can do to make you better? I'm managing it. I already had my cry, but thanks for the offer nonetheless. Okay, if you change your mind, I'll be around. I'm always happy to lend a helping hand where I can. Thanks, I'll keep it in mind. Care for a drink, ladies? It seems we've all gone through some troubling times. Should relax while we can. On a normal day, I'd probably take you up on the offer. After what we just went through, I'd rather keep my mind as clear as possible. I'll have to pass as well. I'll take a drink, especially since you've gone through all the trouble of making it. Why is the old hag the only one that says yes? What was that? Nothing here. You're winning the first round. Wait, are we toasting? I just finished making my drink. Cheers! So what do you four go through exactly? Belle had us searching through the dark for keys, and when I say the dark, I mean that the room was pitch black. The only light source that we had was some candles that slowly dimmed in intensity over time. Belle said there were dangerous traps around too, but I guess we didn't trigger any of them. Worst thing that ever happened was that a bucket of milk fell on my head. The floor turned into Legos once, a bat flew into my face. I'm pretty sure that there was a doll that was following us around. It was annoying stuff like that, but otherwise I thought it was pretty fun. It was fun because you kept using the opportunity to scare us whenever we lost sight of you. Well, I thought that we ought to have a little fun since we weren't in any real danger. Don't make any assumptions like that. One of those traps could have easily ended your life. I'm too cool to go down to some stupid little trap. He's got confidence. I'll give the kid that. Too bad the rest of his head is pretty empty. Hey, who are you calling a kid? So your game was just a hunt through the dark with no casualties? I say it's a pretty scary game that you went through. If you're ever feeling scared, know that I'll protect you. Excuse me. Thank you, sir. It does feel nice knowing that you'll have our back if anything dangerous happens. That's right, you can leave the Jade to pave the way. We enjoyed our brief respite for a few minutes. It was bizarre how quickly it mood lifted considering the number of dead that we had. But maybe that was because none of them had lost anyone personally yet. I didn't know if any of them had any strong connections to Zeph or Kishi. Richard himself seemed sullen, but nevertheless was coping as far as I could tell. All I kept thinking about was the information that I had been given. Whether or not the dead could truly return to the land of the living. If this game had special properties that let death be a momentary state, then rather than a permanent end of life, then there was likely some hope of getting Devin back, right? Here it is. Special notes. Okay, so wait, see. Okay, it doesn't have anything on them yet. Like, yeah, that's the thing for the notes, right? As I was ruminating on the thoughts, the fourth and last door opened with a familiar chariot voice blasting in the room. Hey yo, we're back, everybody. Hope you didn't miss me too much. Maria strutted with a pep in her step while Teresa, Everett, and Alphonse walked in right behind her. They all seemed so tense, or maybe they were just always like that. Sounds like you guys are having a party. That means you didn't even send me an invitation. Well, don't you worry, Maria. We've got a drink with your name on it and seat right here for you. Yeah, we're having a great time. Looks like everyone on your side did perfectly well. We sure did. All we had to do was like some lame-ass puzzle, a sour dunko, or something like that. Sudoku. Right, that game. Honestly, it was such a bore. All you had to do was play Sudoku, no weird strings attached. We had to take turns making moves, which sometimes led to us arguing about what was the right thing to do or not. Otherwise, it was a fairly normal, I'd say. Sounds kind of dull, to be honest. Oh, you weren't there. The arguments that were very entertaining. I'm very stirred that Maria can't count to 9. You make one little mistake and no one lets me live it down. Well, in Sudoku, one mistake really makes the whole thing ruined if you're not careful. I'll forgive you. It's not like we spent that much time in there. Maria pouted and grabbed one of the spare drinks that was left on the table. I say we're missing around 4 people. Yep, that's probably why we didn't get anything deadly. Maria's eyes shot towards me. She must have noticed that the others in my group weren't here. Well, that's how these things go. Next round is going to be any easier. In that way, I guess it was good that we got something simple like Sudoku. I'd agree. Alphonse walked away from the group, seemingly relaxing in the kitchen, while Theresa and Everett joined in on the conversation. Well, they didn't get much time to enjoy themselves before Belle appeared out of nowhere and happily poured herself a drink. This is a nice party you've got going on here. Food, drinks, entertainment. I'm sorry to say it's got to come to a close now. We've got a game to run after all. I'm only on my 3rd drink. You'll make it to the last. You have to make it last then because we're moving on. If we don't get a group of 4 to enter the first door in 4 minutes, we're still have to use some more exciting methods to get you interested in playing. We wouldn't want that now, would we? She looked over at Laura, who seemed spooked by Belle's appearance, no doubt because of what happened last time. So good luck in the next round. She took one final sip of her drink before poofing away. Way to kill the moon. She was right, though. We might as well organize ourselves up into groups again. Personally, I'd like to join Clyde, if that's alright with everyone. Why do you want to join me? Well, I don't have my father and you don't have your friend. I figure that we might as well have one another's backs. Unless you're not really as annoying as some of the other people here, namely William. I'd make a great partner, you just can't handle my amazing charisma. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Sure, I don't mind you sticking with me. Cool, then all we need now is to pick a door and get 2 other people to join us. I wouldn't mind joining up with you, Richard. You seem nice enough. Hold on, I'm against this. I had to kill 3 people in order to survive. If we get into some game against him, then I'd rather not have him as an opponent. It's not like he did it because he wanted to. That could be any of us. We just got lucky. In some ways, that's true. Lil stared at me for a few seconds, and then at the doors. I'll go with you if you choose to go through the 3rd door. Any reason why you want that door? Less odds of us having to kill one another. You think so? I thought it was random. Get real. The rules say that exactly 4 people have to die in each round. You know the reason why some of us got such tame games? Because 4 of us had already died. Exactly. And Belle probably couldn't risk any of us actually dying, or she'd be breaking one of her own rules. It's also probably why Everett, Maria, Teresa, and Alphonse went that room during the 1st round. Chances of dying are pretty low. I never really thought about it that way. Makes sense, but won't other people gun for that door too? I mean, if you figure that out, surely some of the others have too. She's right. Most people, I imagine, have figured that. Alphonse got into conversation looked between Richard and I. Being the last to play essentially lowers your odds of having to do anything, at least at this on average. Either it changes what kind of games you'll be playing. Right, that's what I just said. Don't worry, I'm not trying to steal your spotlight. Just want to ask these two a question. Want something from us? Yeah, I want you two to partner up with Maria and me in the 2nd door. Hey, don't try and steal my partners. They don't belong to you. I'm just offering them an option. William, Elizabeth, Everett, and Teresa said that they take the 1st door. That just leaves the 2nd and 3rd ones. I want to take the 2nd one, so I figured out that you know that the option is on the table. Or at least the door, I suppose. Why don't you want to take the 3rd door? You could just take Clyde's in my place and move along with Lilith and Laura. 2 reasons, really. First, that there's a risk involved with entering the last door, and I'm not really feeling it this time around. Second, I don't really think that I'd be happy with myself if I had a hand in Laura's death somehow. But you'd be fine with me dying. You're tough enough. I'm sure you can handle whatever gets thrown your way. But Laura, she seems like a dainty flower. They get too emotional if things got dire. Not really good with dealing with women like her, so I'd rather not have to worry about it. Thank you. That just means you're fine with one of us dying, then. Yeah, pretty much. But who knows? Maybe we'll end up working together. Maria seems pretty excited at the prospect anyway. So think it over. Not like you have to make a choice soon anyway. With that, Alphonse walked back over to the couch and took a seat, closing his eyes and taking a nap. The choice is yours, but if you want to come along with us, then just meet us by the door. I hope that whatever you choose, you don't feel like you're pressured into anything, okay? The 2 walked off and waited by the 3rd door. Wow, to think that we'd be so popular. Or maybe it's more that maybe it's more so you that's popular. I hardly call this popularity. They're just trying to do what they think is best for themselves. Well, Lilith and Laura don't really need us at all. If they want the best odds of not getting into any dangerous scenario, Jade and Grant can be their partners. But I'm sure that you'd make Laura happy if you were to join them. But Lilith would be pissed, no doubt. I don't really know. When I look into Lilith's eyes, I get the feeling that she's really not in this for herself. She's doing whatever she can for her sister. Going by that logic, you're probably one of the biggest threats to her since you've shown enough skill to be able to win when the odds are stacked against you. Gee, that sure makes me feel great. It's odd. I feel for the same reason that's why Alphonse invited you. If I had to guess, he seems to be comfortable with the idea that you'd somehow end up eliminating him from the game. Now, why would you think that? It's just a hunch. Maybe he respects you. Seems like the type of person that appreciates it when someone does what has to be done, even if they don't like it. But again, that might just be me misinterpreting what I'm seeing. Anyway, a more important question for us, or rather you, is who you're comfortable teaming up with. Remember, no matter who you pair up with, there's a chance that any of us could die. So while it might seem nice to pair up with someone you like, you might have to, you know, make decisions that weigh on your heart, even if ultimately the consequences for them aren't serious. Yeah, you've got a point. Look between my two options. I could agonize over this for hours, but I decided to just go with my gut. For this round, I'd pair up with... What voices do I feel like doing? Ah! We did it again. Whose voices do I feel like doing? That's what I'm gonna go with. Too many male voices for one female. We can join Lilith and Laura. What? Do you not like the idea? No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Just wondering why you want to join Lilith is all. She's abrasive. Just doing it because I like the idea of being able to survive. Lilith makes a good point that we'll have better odds if we go into a later door. And I'd not have to do any more killing if I don't have to. I understand, though it might be useless to expect that you won't have to kill anymore after this. Well, I suppose you could just choose to die. Anyway, we should go and let them know that we're going to join them. Yeah. So, I'm guessing you're coming over here because you want to join with me and my sister, right? Yeah, we think it'll work best for us to join you in the third door. I'd say that's a smart move. Are you alright, Laura? Didn't ruin your plans, did we? Oh no, nothing like that. I didn't mean to give that impression. I was thinking it feels a little unfair, you know, to have us in a group with you. Well, I think you lost someone important to you. You're strangers to one another. If we were to have to team up against you, I feel like it wouldn't exactly be fair. That's what you're worried about? Laura, it doesn't really matter whether they joined us or not. This was bound to happen. Yeah, every other group still has their partner pair. Even if we joined Marie and Alphonse, the situation would be the same. I suppose it's true. I just can't really imagine the pain of losing someone that you're close to. I mean, that was your father, right? And Clyde, you lost your dear friend as well. I don't know what I would do if I lost Lilith. I feel like I would just lose myself. Well, it's a good thing you still have your sister to support you then, huh? I didn't mean... It's fine. It's not, but I really doubt that Laura meant to sour my mood by mentioning it. Oh man, my father wouldn't want me wallowing in despair over his death. He was always a supportive type. I'm sure that even in death, he'd push me onwards and upwards. Sounds lovely that you and your father get along well. I'm relieved to know that his death hasn't broken you. A decent fatherly relationship. Couldn't relate to that. Anyway, now you know we'll be joining you. I guess we should tell the others? Right, they'll probably want to know how the groups got organized out. Oh, I think I just unconnected my screw with my controller there. I apologize. Let's go tell them. We want them to get shocked later. Ray was lounging on the couch, and as we walked over towards her, she gave us a friendly wave. What's up, party people? Not much. We just want to let you know we'll be going along with Laura in the third door. Aw, you're not coming along with Owl and I? Right, not. Hope we didn't put a damper on your spirits. Nah, it's fine. I'm just not used to rejection all that much. Don't make it out like I was trying to get close to you. Oh, the pain of rejection stings once more again. Ugh. Where's your buddy Alphonse? He ain't with you? I think he's talking with Grant and Jade in the kitchenette. I mean, that's probably where he is. There aren't really a lot of places to relax around here. I went with Jade and Grant. Might be more of an interrogation than a talk, though. He likes getting information from others. See why he'd want to chat with Grant, though. Do they know each other? Personally, not that much, but I mean, well, I guess it's more accurate to say he knows of him, not the other way around, though. I see. And what about Jade? I don't know, I'm guessing Jade is just there because I didn't want to deal with him. Are they gonna be okay? They'll be fine. Al's not gonna rough them up. He's not the kind of person to resort to violence to get what he wants. That's good. I wouldn't want either of them getting hurt before their next game. Especially Jade. He seems like such a friendly face. What? Let me echo that thought. What? Isn't that odd? He's been nothing but kind and friendly to me. Yeah, because the one gets under your skirt. Probably further than that, too. Lilith! It's not like that at all! He was just being nice, helping me get over my nerves. I didn't want anything more than to just help me out. Well, there are good people in the world that do just want to help. Either way, he'll be fine. If you want to go and check up on them, just be safe, though. They're not too far off. I think I'll do just that. Not that I'm worried, but we'll talk with Jay will help set me at ease, and who knows how much longer he'll be around. Hopefully not that much longer. Laura shot Lilith a death glare that seemed to freeze her sister up for just a moment before she walked off. Huh, I never imagined that Laura could make you shiver like that. Shut up. Yeah, she can be a bit bolder at times. That's good, especially here. You've got to be able to stick up for yourself. She'll be fine. I'm not going to let anyone take advantage of her. Don't you have faith in that your sister can take care of herself? That's not the point. I'm sure that Laura can make good decisions on her own, but this is a different beast. The consequence for getting screwed over is literal death. It's hard to have some extra help in that regard. That's fair, but you should also know that if you end up trying to protect her all the time, there might be a point where you'll, be forced to kill her. That won't happen if I have to. I'll give my life to save my sister. That's some serious dedication. It's just what will have to be done. You three are terrible at setting the mood for a good conversation, you know that. What, you want me to act all cheery and gossipous if I'm not in some horrible death game? This thing that would do wonders for improving your mood. And if you're in a better mood, you'll probably do better in whatever game you end up in. Is that a fact? Not a fact, but just think about it. If you're broody and gloomy, you're not in tip-top mental shape. So cheer up, it's a practical solution. Ugh. Seems to me that gloomy types are all the rage right now. Huh? Gloomy? Hey, Graham, we were just talking about mood and how if you're in a better mood, you probably perform better in the game. Oh, well, I suppose there's probably some truth to it. If you lose all drive and motivation, then more likely than not, you're going to give up when things get tough. I feel like motivation and mood aren't exactly one and the same here. And it feels less inspiring to hear from somebody that looks like they just got fired from their job. Sorry, I'm just a little exhausted. Alphonse can really dredge up some painful questions when he wants to. That sounds like Al all right. And what's he doing now? I think he's talking with Jade. Lauren's just listening in. Pretty sure that he's not interrogating him like he did me, though. Why do you want to interrogate you? Say that I have a trouble past. Guessing he heard about it and wanted to learn more of the details. Really? You have some kind of complicated trouble past? That's hard to believe. You look like you wouldn't sit down on a tree trunk because you're afraid of squishing an ant. Yeah, I mean, it's not really worth bringing up. Clearly not, if Alphonse thought otherwise. No, we are not going down this lane of conversation. Why not? It sounds interesting. No, it's going to be a pain in the ass to talk about something way more fun. Like about hobbies. What did you people like to do in your off hours? We're playing in a death game. You want to talk about hobbies? Oh, I get it, Lilith. You're just embarrassed to go first because your hobby's probably a little weird. Watch your mouth. I didn't say anything like that. My hobbies aren't weird at all. Well, I can't know that until you tell me. Lilith glared at Maria and did a soft sigh before adjusting her hat as if a way for her to compose herself. Well, I like to sing. Sing? Yes, sing. I like to go out and sing in karaoke or at certain clubs. I'm damn good at it too. Huh, never would have expected that. Why? You think that just because I've got a harsh tone that I don't have a good voice for it? That might actually just be the case. Will you perform for us then? No. Don't be nervous. I'm sure that you're a great singer. I'm not shy. I know that I'm a great singer. I don't need you to tell me that. Just don't feel like it right now, okay? You asked me what my hobbies are, and I told you one of them. Yeah, but the idea is to sort of talk about them in detail, you know? Otherwise, it's just like you're listing off a set of skills. Well, then you show us how it's done. What do you do? Freaking CrossFit or something? I tried CrossFit for a while. It's hard to sell to a lot of clients. Though I do kind of like the fun physical exercises and training, you know? I just want to be like one of those TV shows where you race through those intense obstacle courses. So sometimes I do like a bit of crafting to make my own little trial to go through at home. You know how to craft and build things? Nothing really crazy, but I'm pretty handy with power tools. Plus, once you get into it, you can make some really fun stuff. You're sounding like one of those people who gets obsessed with making chairs and benches just because they can. Hey, there's nothing wrong with a well-made chair or bench. I thought I use those kinds of things in my training. I'm talking like monkey bars and hooks on the ceiling to leap from. So what kind of training are you doing? The fun kind, you know. I'll be on TV and stuff. I think I know what show she's talking about. American Samurai Warrior or something like that, anyway. I can go on a link, but I don't want to hog the spotlight, so why don't you go next, Gran? Huh? Me? No, I don't really have anything at all interesting. Now, hi, I'm moving mouse. I'm like, there's something moving. It's my mouse. To talk about. Oh, come on. There's at least something that's interesting about you. Something that even you do to have a little fun, right? Oh, I like to dance. Dance, huh? Maybe you and Lola should do a dance show together. How good are your moves? Is she actually considering it? Oh, well, I mean, they're okay. Just okay. How long have you been dancing for? I mean, everyone dances in their life, right? It's not like I just sort of decided one day I was going to be good at it. It's just something that I like to do. Usually in private. I'm not really keen on going out to clubs or showing off. It's lame. What the hell are you dancing for if you can't show it off to anyone? Well, it's not like I wouldn't. It's just, yeah, now is not really the best time, I guess. Maybe after the day I might be willing to try going out a bit more. Assuming that somehow you survive, and maybe that'd help to get that sad look off your face. Right. Look, now you have something to fight for. You two can perform your song and dance for us. I already have something to fight for, and don't force this show onto me as motivation. I guess it wouldn't be too bad if somehow we will survive. Well, consider it at least. Again, assuming that everything works out here. What about you, Clyde? Any interesting hobby that you have? Well, I like to play games a lot, though I'm trying to cut back recently. Video games, I'm assuming? Yeah, I used to be really good at MOBAs, but I don't really play a lot of them anymore. Why is that? Oh, that's just... I really don't have to admit that I dropped out of college because of a game addiction. There were probably some other games that got more interesting. You kind of bounce from one game to another, right? Oh, yeah, it's kind of like that. Or like I bounced off that game because of the shock and pain I associate with it, but yeah, better than nothing. Nowadays, usually prefer board games and just watching nature documentaries. What? Well, if you play a lot of games, I'm assuming you're right at home here. After all, this is just gonna be a bunch of games that'll test whether or not you can survive. I don't think that's fair, especially since the games I just played was anything like that I've ever experienced before. No one willingly plays a self-torture simulator. Though some might argue that's what MOBAs really are. I really hope not. I guess that's about as good a hobby as any. And then games have been around since like forever now, right? Well, video games are more recent. At least they're relatively recent compared to other the entirety of games as a whole. Our generation grew up with them after all, so it's not like that uncommon. Yeah, I didn't really play a lot of those growing up. It didn't seem all that interesting to our parents, or maybe they were just afraid that they corrupt us. Well, it just really leaves Richard then. Let me guess, the guy probably draws and paints a lot in his spare time. Hey, just because I'm an artist doesn't mean that art is my only hobby. Well, enlighten us then. What's something else you really love to do? Well, I really like thought experiments. Thought experiments? That's what's considered a hobby nowadays. Well, don't judge me. When you have a father that teaches philosophy, you tend to learn about these things at an early age. Though, I thought it wasn't interesting, so sometimes I just read up on those kind of things. You thought that thought experiments were interesting to the point of making it a hobby to keep up on them? Ease up on the guy. We've all got things that we like. Yeah, I guess there are worse things he could be into. Well, what's one of your favorite then, Richard? Well, I'm not going to talk about if you're all uninterested in it. Don't be sour. If you think they're interesting, there's probably something cool about it, right? Well, I don't know if I'd call it cool, but make you think for a moment. I guess I can talk about my favorite one since it's kind of related to what we're doing here. Really? In a way, it depends on how you think about concepts like the body, soul, and things like that. Anyway, have you all heard of the mind-body problem? I can't say that I have, really. Well, it's a fairly complex question that was introduced by René Descartes in the 17th century. Primarily, it was a question as to the relationship between the mind, body, and consciousness. René Descartes, like you and your father? You mean that you're a descendant of that old philosopher? No, at least I'm pretty sure that we're not. I suppose it is interesting. I found myself drawn to the philosophy on mind-body dualism. Anyway, the concept is the mind and the body are functionally distinct entities that are fundamentally different in nature and to one another. Descartes suggested that the body is an extending substance, a thing that isn't capable of feeling or thought. The mind, however, is capable of thinking and feeling. It's a non-extending thing. He also argued that the body is something that, by its very nature, is divisible, while the mind is not. Through these ideas, he states that the body and the mind are wholly distinct and different, and that they can exist without one another. There's a lot more that goes into this, but that's the basic argument that he proposes. Huh. I suppose in a way that makes sense. I guess our bodies don't really feel or think, it's just our brain that does it, right? Well, Descartes would argue that your brain is part of the body, and thus isn't what's actually doing the thinking or feeling. Wait, the brain is totally the mind, though. That's like where all the thinking and stuff happens. You're forgetting the point that he makes where the body is divisible and the mind is not. You could chop up and organize the body into different parts to do the same for the brain. But could you really try and separate the entirety of your mind? Well, I mean, I probably could. Could you? Well, why not give it a try now? Huh? Separate yourself mentally. Your mind. Can you divide and split your mind into subcategories? Start thinking two different thoughts at the same time. It effectively sees being one thought, but 2, 4, 8 somehow have multiple lines of thought entirely distinct and separate from one another. That's, well, when something like that doesn't really come easily. I can only think of myself as myself. I simply think. No one thinks for me. There's no split. There's just me. I guess I can't really divide my thoughts or minds, really. Even if I want to, it's more like jumping from one thought to another. I can't exactly split my head in two and have 2 thoughts running around at once. Precisely. Well, you can't split up your body based on organ type, size, color, or anything else. You can't really do that with your mind. Hold on. Can't you, though? I mean, our mind has separate functions, though. Parts of it are responsible for sensing stimuli. Some parts of it manages emotions, other parts logic and problem solving. Can you split the mind up that way? Perhaps I should clarify. Descartes doesn't mean to say that you can't organize processes that the mind does, but that you can't split the mind itself. Cut the body in half. You could say you have 2 bodies, for example, or you could chop your brain in half and you'd have 2 brains, so to speak. You can't chop a mind in half, so you have 2 minds, or 2 selves suddenly existing now, can you? Oh, I see what you mean now. Yeah, I can't really imagine how that'd work. Oh, load of horseshit. This is the kind of thing that fascinates you. Well, I wouldn't call it horseshit, but yeah, I think it's a pretty neat idea. The concept that the physical body, brain included, is a separate entity from the conscious mind is fascinating, don't you think? Of course, for Descartes, the mind was a substitute for a soul, and he had his own religious reasoning for wanting to make his theory plausible. One being that since the mind and body are separate entities, they can exist separate from one another. That you can have a body without a mind, and similarly a mind without a body. That's really trippy. Is it? I mean, it's not really that complicated at all. What do you think happens to people that die? You've got a body with no mind in it. Not really that hard to believe. Well, I guess it's not hard to imagine a body without a mind, but how can you have a mind without a body? That's the tricky part. Like, can you imagine just being a mind out there? Free-flowing, no body, just no thoughts and feelings. Maybe it's like the sensation of being one with the universe. Well, Descartes argued that the mind is immortal, or rather the soul, He was presuming that the mind and soul were essentially the same thing anyway. Anyway, he argued that the destruction of the body does not mean the destruction of the soul, much in the same way that being brain dead or comatose does not mean your body is dead. Huh, yeah, alright, that makes sense. If that's the case, then what happens to the soul or mind then? And more importantly, where does the mind come from? Does it just pop into our bodies? It's from some weird place? Or is soul like born with the body and exists after the body dies? Those are good questions. I think Descartes likely believed that humans were born with a soul, so like the body and the mind were together, even if they were separate. And when the body perished, well, the soul could go on to the afterlife. So holds the theory anyway. I see. Well, that makes sense, even though it's hard to prove. I'm still in awe that you're believing in all this. Sounds to me like you're still a bit skeptical, Lilith. Is he challenging her to argue with him? Never mind. Never would have imagined Richard would be the argumentative type. Maybe he thinks it's fun to argue with Lilith. Or it'll be fun. Of course I do. The concept that the mind and body are separate entities just doesn't make a lick of sense to me. Doesn't it? I mean, he made a convincing case. The brain is responsible for thought, intelligence, and consciousness. It's a complex organ of various neuron hubs that interact in ways we understand and ways we don't. Suggesting some kind of ephemeral soul is responsible for consciousness is just nonsense. Interesting. And can you with certainty say that there is a specific process or organ responsible for what we think of as consciousness? That... Lilith paused before rubbing her nose and turned away for half a second. There's no specific part of the brain or process that's responsible for consciousness. Though there is some evidence to suggest that it might be an emergent property of the brain itself. As I say, the body of the brain is what creates the sensation of consciousness, therefore the brain itself is consciousness. And that's the wild map of neurons. The wild map of neurons responsible for all the little parts eventually build that amazing consciousness that we can feel now. You take away the brain, the body that creates the emergent result, and you're left with no mind to speak of. How do you have consciousness if there's nothing to create the emergent property of it? That is, emergent mind can exist without a body, and thus the mind and body must be the same, or at least they're not distinct enough from one another to the point where the mind can exist without a body. Interesting proposal. This of course assumes that consciousness is indeed an emergent property of all the neurons in the brain interacting with one another. However, I would argue that the mind is what triggers this emergent reaction within the brain. The mind, the soul, is what makes the neurons communicate the way they do, in just the right special way that leads to the higher functions of consciousness. Actually, that would just be the neurotransmitters, special chemicals that nerve cells use to talk to one another, and they just know the right combination of chemicals to be able to talk in just the right way. That's quite the miracle. That's called evolution, a process which took billions of years and lots of trial and error to make the beautiful mistake that is us humans. These two, they're really going at it, huh? I'm kind of impressed, honestly. Yeah, I want to see how this ends. Again, Lilith glared at Richard, but while there was still some anger mixed into her glare, there was something else. Have some competitive spirit, as though she was was enjoying this debate. If she was enjoying the idea of possibly crushing this annoying concept. As I accidentally click out. Well, how about I plan a few other notable problems I have with your little dualism idea? Even though I guess, so I do feel I have to clarify that there have been many philosophers, scientists, and reputable people who have thought about this at great length. Yeah, I don't care. Grant, raise your hand. Despite the fumbling, Grant did raise his hand somewhat. Like this? Yeah, great work there, bucko. So Richard, you just saw Grant raise his hand, right? Yep, pretty fast too. You said that the mind and body are separate and distinct entities, that the mind does the thinking and feeling, and the body is just the thing that moves. Also say that the mind is, what do you call it, non-extending thing? I'm assuming you mean immaterial. And how does the mind and body interact? What medium does the mind use to communicate to the body and to move an arm just as Grant did? After all, the body does not think in your argument, the mind does. Grant thought about moving his arm, and in turn he commanded his body to move. There's some distinct if the mind is some immaterial thing that can exist on its own. Does the thinking and makes the willing a command to move? How does the body receive such a command? That is... yeah, I guess that makes you wonder, huh? Oh, yeah, typo. Like, at least the brain commanding the body to move makes sense. If it's there and connected to like the body through the spine and nerves and stuff. Exactly. There are modes and mediums for which the brain can command the body. But I can't imagine how the mind or soul is, as Richard put it, can connect to the brain and in turn give commands. Second point. Lilith walked over to Maria and pinched her cheek. Ow! Hey, what gives? You felt that, right? Of course I felt it. You just pinched my cheek. Why too? Similar to what I just said, how does the mind receive stimulus, interpret information, or to be able to feel? In a case that the body does not feel, it is the mind that does so. Yet, how is it possible for the body to send information or stimuli to the process that is felt pain or shown an image of life they can see or process sounds? The brain certainly has capacity to do such things since the nerves can process all the stimuli from the body, but the mind? There's no interface, no means to connect or pass along such stimuli to this mind, but somehow Maria is able to feel pain. Why do you have to pinch me to prove this point? It's more fun to do demonstrations. Well, you do make some valid arguments. Of course I do, because that's how the brain and body work. Both exist in the physical realm, that's how they communicate, that's how it works. Richard pauses for a moment, rubbing his chin as if trying to think of a proper response before a wide grin grew on his face once more. But I think that the means of which the mind and body, that is, the brain and the soul or mind, communicate is metaphysical. Metaphysical? Oh, of course! How can I possibly forgot about the metaphysical realm of communication? Sounds strange, doesn't it? But I personally believe that the soul acts like a sort of Kickstarter for the mind. Kickstarter, huh? Right, the brain has the capacity for consciousness, the complex structure and form to be able to hold and perceive consciousness. That alone isn't enough. It's like having a computer that's capable of running complex calculations, running software, that kind of thing. But it's inert on its own. It can't do anything without instruction. I think that the human brain works the same way. It's inert until the soul enters into it. It's a kickstart that gives rise to consciousness, thinking, and thought. The soul creates a metaphysical connection, a means for it to interpret what the brain feels and also command the brain to in turn command the body. Thus the soul does the thinking, has access to stimuli, and is able to send orders through the brain to the rest of the body. How convenient that there is a metaphysical link that we can't interpret, that we can't see, that we can't observe, that ties all this up nicely. So all sensations in the brain are just the soul deciding to toy around and command it. How do you explain neurological disorders, memories, things we attribute to brain damage? Does the soul also suffer the same way the brain does? Does it remember and recall the same way that the brain does? Is the connection between the brain and soul so strong that they can contaminate one another? See if only Richard was backing down. It's not exactly a foolproof theory. There are more or less just some things that I've thought about over time. Would think that perhaps the brain does influence the soul just as the soul influences the brain. Whew. Or maybe the soul can be damaged or altered based on the condition of the brain, or maybe the soul copies some properties of the brain that it's influencing. That sounds interesting, doesn't it? That an immaterial thing like a soul could be so changed by the physical world. Perhaps the opposite is also true. And maybe the physical body can be adjusted and changed depending on the condition of the soul. And now you're getting to nonsense I don't want to deal with. Okay, I'm pretty sure that water just made me thirstier. It's somehow possible. Is it really nonsense? Consider where we are, Lilith. We're in the realm of a god that can supposedly grant wishes. I feel like you should be a bit more accepting of strange possibilities here. I'll believe it when I see it. Well, I guess that's fair. Just figure they'd be happy at the concept of an immortal, everlasting soul that could survive without the body. Might help put your mind at ease. Are you saying you think that I'm going to die? Well, no, more so that you'll persist after you die. Whether here or, elsewhere. Richard, what do you think would happen to a soul that enters a copy of a body? A copy? Just a theoretical, let's say that you die, but some amazing scientists managed to build you back up atom by atom into an exact copy of what you were. Of course, you're still dead, but you have an exact copy of your body, brain and all. Maybe your soul would find its way back to this copy body. Would kickstart the brain back into action, just using your own words. And now you're into this too. I was curious of what Richard thinks. Well, I guess it depends if you think the soul is drawn to a brain that's similar or even the same as to what it was used to. Well, it might not be able to think about and having a brain or body that's so alien to itself. So I guess if it were somehow an exact copy, I say it would probably end up popping back in, assuming that doing so would revive said body. Interesting. Wow, you three are really liking this kind of stuff. It's not a matter of liking. I feel like this is the kind of argument I hear from the loons I work with. Must work with some really interesting people then. Sure, interesting. Like how being eaten by a frenzy of piranhas would be interesting. A soul entering back into a copy of a body. That's what some wishful thinking if I ever heard of it. Devin, wherever you are, I hope that you're at least resting peacefully. Watching over me. If there's some weird inert copy of you out there, then go pop into that. Now I'm just getting desperate. Hey, you all done chatting over there. The next doors have opened up. Oh, guess we lost track of time. Guess that's what happened to talk about these weird thought experiment thing kind of things, huh? Yeah, that's what makes them so fun. You can get lost in your head just thinking about them. Well, I guess I can't deny it was somewhat interesting. Even if I don't agree with a large amount of the premise. Anyway, we gotta get going, shouldn't we, Maria? Yep, let's get a move on. Well, looks like it's that time again. A trial of life and death, the chance to show my dedication to an indomitable spirit. Well, as long as you've got that, then chances are you're gonna get pretty far. I'm glad you agree. We didn't even talk that long, but you know that I'm a man of action. Well, you do like to talk a lot too, so... Man of action can be talkative as well. In my experience, a lot of them tend to just talk and not act at all. Ugh. You'll see that I'm a fair exception. Anyway, we're off, folks, so we'll be seeing you. And good luck and good fortune to the rest of you. I don't miss this too much. The other four walked through the door and left Richard, Lilith, Laura, and me alone. Only one way out. I hope that they do okay. Laura, you do know that we should be hoping that some of them die, right? The more of them that die, the less likely any of us will. I know that. Doesn't mean I can't hope that maybe some of them make it out okay, right? I think that's fair. It feels weird to root for someone to die, after all. Exactly, I just want for us to survive is all. I know it's stupid and impossible at this point, but I just hate the idea of there being more death. With a heavy sigh and walked over towards one of the couches in the lounge. She probably wasn't in the mood to try and assuage her sister's fears at the moment, especially since sooner or later they'd have to play a game for their own survival. Laura didn't linger and eventually sat beside her sister, leaning against her for support on the couch. Nothing better to do, Richard and I lounged on one of the couches as well. So, what were you talking about with Jade and Alphonse, Laura? Oh, well, nothing really in particular. I wasn't talking much at all. I was just watching and listening. I was asking some questions out of Jade, stuff like why he was here, what his plans were. He didn't mind that you were listening in. Not really, it's not like they were talking about anything really secretive. Jade said that he was here to make up for a mistake in his past, to save someone he cared about. It's inspiring to see him so passionate about wanting to save someone. It's romantic. Oh dear God, please don't tell me you're falling for the dolt. I'm just saying that it's charming. Ugh. What about you three? You seem to be having some kind of argument earlier? More like a debate? I'll give Richard credit. Well, I don't agree with his ideas. He's thorough. Don't talk about me like I'm not here. It's a compliment. Take it or leave it. I guess I'll take it then. How to get into that sort of thing anyway? I thought that most kids want to learn much about philosophy growing up. Oh well, my father was a philosophy teacher, so part of it was just that he liked to talk to me about some of that stuff. But other times it was because it was something to do in my free time. It's probably not hard to believe that I usually spend a lot of time alone. So solitary pursuits like writing, painting, and reading were common for me. Especially as a kid, I didn't really have an easy time being alone with other children. You seem like such a nice gentleman. Oh, thank you. I like to think I was raised right. Either way, as a kid, I didn't really mesh with most other people. I had a hard time making friends. A lot of other kids picked on me for being different, quiet, off. Screw them. Kids are always manipulative little shits anyway. Lilith! Well, I didn't say that your kids were. Just saying that kids really don't hold back sometimes when it comes to ostracizing others. Well, you don't have to get upset about it. I learned how to better fit in with time. It was just a small bump in the road, and I learned to use a lot of my free time to pursue some of my other passions. So no need to worry about that much about me. I'm managing just fine. How very mature of you. Is it really that mature? Lots of people have some troubled parts in their past. I don't think I'm really all that special for just adjusting with it. Yeah, I guess you're right about that. No one in the world has a perfect life. We've all got some weird life-changing bullshit that happened in our youth, right? If I get more than one wish, I know for sure I'd want to go back and change the past. Really? Life's full of regrets. Don't you have some event or some choice you wish you could just jump back to and change if you could? I know that I would. Well, I can't deny the idea is tempting. I'm not sure what kind of life I'd even have or live if I could go back and redo some choice. It'd have to be something really terrible. Otherwise, I'm not really sure I'd do it. Really, I think most people jump at the opportunity. Yeah, but what about all the people and events that happen in your life because of the mistakes you made? There are all sorts of ripple effects, not saying that they might all be bad or all good, but be a totally different reality. I'm not sure if I'm okay with knowing I jumped from one ship to another. Again, it'd have to be something really bad, like if I killed someone who didn't deserve it or something. Guess that'd be a good reason as any. Guess if I didn't kicked out of college, I wouldn't have met Devin. I might have met all sorts of other people. Maybe I could have been a professional gamer. Maybe I'd just end up working some normal job after graduating. Chances are that I would never have met Devin. She'd also still be alive. This is nothing but a fantasy. People are always full of regrets. If you gave that kind of power to anyone, I bet they'd use it. I know I sure as hell would. Same. You would too, right, Richard? Yeah, I mean, there aren't many regrets I have in my life. But there is one I have. Just one big one. You can't just say something like that and leave us hanging. Oh, I didn't. Well, there was this guy. He killed someone in front of me. I was able to stop him in time. I just froze up there. And then my dad, well, he got hurt too, and I just... If I could go back in time, I'd stop the guy, but I can't. Richard let out a heavy sigh and looked down at the ground. Oh my goodness, that's horrible. Murder is a pretty horrible thing, yeah. So what? Some bastard murdered someone in front of you? Yeah, my dad tried to save a woman, but it was too late. Then the guy turned to stab him. I pulled my dad away, but I could see the bloodlust in that murderer's eyes. But butchered him just like he did that woman if he had the chance. I didn't see an ounce of compassion, kindness, or mercy in his eyes. He was just... Well, yeah, pretty sure most murderers aren't those things. How did you get through that without getting killed? Luck, I guess. The guy got distracted with something else at the time. Got my dad to a hospital, and well, that was that. Shit, man. Sorry you and your dad had to go through that. It's alright. Everything is gonna be alright. We're gonna fix everything. My dad is going to do his part, and as for me, I fell silent again, his lips pressed tightly against one another as a flash of anger washed over his face. I'll do my part as well. Why the hell are you acting cryptic all of a sudden? Your emo outfit's starting to get the better of you. It's not emo, it's just like dark colors. More of a goth look than anything. Same thing. It is not the same thing. Laurie giggled at the two began arguing once again. Arguing as well. It wasn't intense. It was almost more like playful banter. Even I could tell that Lilith was somewhat enjoying just bickering with Richard for a bit. As for Richard, well, he seemed to be doing fine. What an odd pair. Oh, the last door opened! That was fast. Maybe the last game was a quick one? Has to be the case, doesn't it? Well, it could be a good thing or a bad thing. Either way, either was something quick and bloody or was quick and harmless. Well, let's go. There's no point in waiting around. Right. They'll slip and walked through the open game door. Ugh. Ourselves for the hall of the way to this once again. And now that we're here, before we start the next game, we're gonna call it good there as I bonked my controller and did everything. So, next time we will find out what game we're playing for door number 3. Yeah. Thank you to the PR company for the code for the game. You can check out Game of Fourtune on Steam now. And next time, like I said, we'll see what's in door 3. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, and or subscribing. If you really enjoyed it, consider supporting the channel. All support really helps with keeping content like this and more. Find links for that in the description below. along with links to me on social media. So thank you again for watching, and until next time, this is rinimt signing out. Bye!